Hello, um, my name is Elle, and I wanted to talk about my experience staying in a crisis house. So, for those of you that don't know, a crisis house is a place where you go when you're having a mental health crisis. Um, Sorry, it feels weird talking to the camera. Anyway, um, yeah, so I was not having a good time, to put it that way. I kind of reached a point in my mental health where I just felt like I couldn't cope anymore. Um, and I still had like a bit of hope left. So I went to the doctor and I explained what had been going on. I think it was a doctor that I hadn't really seen before. I might have seen him like once or twice before. But anyway, he was really good. Like, it was an emergency appointment, and it was towards the end of the day, and he had a few appointments left to do. And he was just like, wait there, and we're gonna sort you out. um, Sorry, it's really weird seeing my face. Yeah, so he finished this appointment that he had, and he called me back in. He did say that if I left the doctor's office, and he would have to call the police. So I was like, oh no, that does not sound good. I'm very worried about what's going to happen next, but at the same time, I wanted to get the help. So I think that's a really important part of it, is like wanting the help, because sometimes that's quite hard. So yeah, he then called the crisis line, um, like Bristol crisis line, who I was referred to, um, and yeah, they came and saw me the same night, and it was really hard because I'm struggling a lot with being at home, because I really struggled to live with other people and stuff. So yeah, I had to go home so that the crisis team could come and see me, and it was the first time I'd ever been seen by the crisis team, so I was a whole new person that they had to get to know, which, I mean, I can't really remember the questions that they asked me, but I assume a lot of it was like past trauma and things like that, which can like be quite exhausting to go over. Um, anyway, I was like, I can't really cope on my own anymore, and I think I need some kind of support. Like, but I didn't know what options there were other than like being hospitalized, and that was very scary. And they told me about this place, um, which was a crisis house, and it was for women. Um, and I'm non-binary, so that was a bit scary, but it was fine in the end. But like, I'd much rather go to a women's crisis house than a men's crisis house. So yeah, they referred me to that, and then I had a appointment with the crisis house people at the crisis house, and it was like quite far out of the city I live in. Um, like, I could still get a bus there, so that was fine. Um, and yeah, the person that I met with was super lovely, and like, we had the appointment in the lounge of the house, which is like really, really lovely. It's very soft, and there's loads of sofas and blankets, and yeah, it's just quite a nice environment. Um, And yeah, they basically asked me a load more questions about the mental health and what support I think I needed, and like accessibility, um, things like that. And they were like, yeah, I think you're a good fit for the house and I think you'd get a lot out of it. So I was like, cool, good stuff, planning in pipelines. This is good. This is something I can look forward to. Um, and I struggled. I think I have waited like 2 weeks from the appointment or something like that. I mean, that might not be completely true, but I feel like it was about that amount of time, which is good. I mean, like, it's a crisis service, so you would have hoped it would be sooner, but I'm used to long, long waiting lists. So, yeah. And I was really nervous um, about going because I have lots of anxiety around new people and new places and just unexpected situations and, yeah, basically things I can't predict. Um, and I got there, I got a taxi there, and my partner helped me like with all my stuff. And when I got there, we had to do a bit of paperwork, kind of like reading the house rules. And I really struggle with paperwork. It like makes me so exhausted. So luckily, like I was just like, is this gonna take long? Because I'm very exhausted, and I wanted to go out with my partner for a meal before like I go back to the house. So we did that. Um, they were like saying that they don't normally like people going out of the house when they first get there because it's when you first get there you're on like hourly um welfare checks. So yeah, I went out with my partner and had a really nice meal, and I got back and I was quite sad because I just felt lonely instantly, and my room was on the top floor and I have like mobility issues, so that was difficult. But I remember I spent most of that night watching TV. I think it was Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Um, but yeah, and I didn't really watch TV much, but there was a TV in my room, so I was like, okay, why not? I thought I'd bother to unpack. And then that evening, there was a quiz night, which was really fun because I quite like quizzes. So did that. Came second, so I was very happy about that. Um, and yeah, uh, so I have a few notes about what I wanted to talk about. Otherwise, I'm just gonna ramble on for hours. Um, so one thing I wanted to mention was the staff at the crisis house. So most of the staff were absolutely lovely and like just seemed like really friendly people, and they were there if you needed to talk to them and things like that. Um, so that was really good. During my first night, I couldn't sleep, understandably, and like I tried to get to sleep for at least like 2 hours, just doing nothing, lying in bed, that kind of thing. And I was like, okay, I'm not sleeping, so I might as well do something. So I was on my laptop, and my staff came in because I was still on hourly checks, and they were like, well, you're not gonna get to sleep if you're on your laptop. And I was just like, that's not very nice. Anyway, I mean, I see where they're coming from, but like they had seen that I had been trying to get sleep. Oh, and also like the hourly checks, when you first get there in the first 24 hours, are really not very helpful if you're trying to sleep. So there's that. Um, but it did feel quite nice being checked on hourly because I wasn't very stable. So knowing that someone was going to come and check on me helped a lot. Um, so mostly my experiences at the Crisis House were quite good. Like, there were activities in the evening, and they were all planned out and stuff like that. So I felt like I really kind of sorry, I'm dissociating. I felt like I really got a lot out of those activities because I didn't have to organise them, and all the resources were provided, and like everyone was saying how creative I was and things like that, which was super lovely because I'm not really able to do much at home creative wise because I just don't have the space. So yeah, examples of things we did are like we made wellness boxes, which were just like shoe boxes which you decorate and then you fill with like sensory things and like inspirational quotes, just things that you maybe like crisis plan, things like that that you can look at when you're having a bad time. So yeah, that was one of the things we did. Another was we did jewellery making. Oh, I don't actually have the jewellery to show you, but I made like this really cool solar system necklace, which was really nice. And we did glass jar painting, dream catcher making, but I wasn't very good at that, so it annoyed me. It was all kind of arty things. Oh yeah, we did salt dough things. Yeah, and we also had like an outing every week, and we went to the charity shops, which was great. I got this beautiful shirt, and it's very good, and it was an expensive shirt, so it was good to find it in a charity shop. We did group cooking and things like that too, and there were some rules in place at the house. Things like you have to come back by 10 o'clock, and not allowed to overshare. I did have a bad experience at the house where someone was oversharing with me, and then it kind of, I mean, I don't want to go into detail about what happened, but something happened where I felt responsible for that person's well-being, and I like dissociated for 2 days without being able to sleep afterwards. So that was not fun. And I was really scared about telling staff about it because I was paranoid that the person would find out and want to hurt me. But that's just, yeah, my weird brain. So, yeah, I think that was a really good rule to have in place. Yeah. Oh, and whilst I was at the Crisis House, I had support sessions. So it was working on things like dissociation, identity, anger, can't really remember many of them, to be honest, but they were helpful. I didn't have as many support sessions as I should have, but that was kind of both mine and my support workers' fault. So, yeah. In terms of the people that were at the house, I'd say there was between like 6 and 8 people, something like that, like as in residents. And they were all like totally different people, which was really nice actually, because I surround myself in like a little bubble of people that like me. So it was nice to meet other people. And like when I say they were all totally different, I mean like there were some older people, there were people with children, there were people like from different backgrounds and things like that. And it was nice because like most of us got on pretty well. So yeah, um, and I made some friends, so that was nice. I felt very lonely whilst I was there, so it was really important to have nice people around. Because like none of my friends were able to come and see me, so like for different reasons, and I don't hate them for it, but I still felt very lonely. So yeah. Anyway, oh yeah, and the last thing I wanted to mention was we got grounding packs in the crisis house, and they were things that you had in your room, and they kind of basically just had like sensory things in them, and also like, oh, I can show you because I have them here. We had cards like this. This is my badly made version, but it's just like say that says, "I deserve to be happy. I feel this way because of past experiences. How would I comfort someone else in my situation? This feeling won't last forever. It will pass. I am loved. I am enough. I am not alone. I can always talk to someone about how I'm feeling." So yeah, it's just like nice things to read when you're not feeling great. Um, and also, I we had these rainbow fish, which well, mine was rainbow. They're made out of like beads and wire, and you can rub them between your hands, and they feel really good and really grounding. I'm a very like sensory seeking person, so I'm all about that stuff. It also had some really nice like hand cream, so that was good. And there were a few things I didn't like slime and like those balls that when you squeeze them they like puff up. I don't know what they're called, but I don't like the feeling of those. They're too sticky. But yeah, being at the crisis house generally was really good because it gave me a new home where I felt a bit more comfortable in, and a sense of community, and also like I could get out a lot easier because it was accessible, and it kind of gave me room to start working out who I am, um, and like yeah, just a safe environment where I could always talk to someone, and like if I was having bad thoughts, then there was always help because I don't know, at least for me, I panic when I have bad thoughts and I don't have help because like you just don't know what to do, and sometimes helplines just make those worse for me because they tell me things that are just unrealistic. But yeah, it was good. I would recommend going to a crisis house if you are ever in crisis, and they're really good service that like are not hospitals, and you still have your own autonomy, which was a really important thing for me. Um, so yeah, um, I just wanted to quickly touch on what happens when you leave. So I stayed there for 2 weeks, and that's like normal amount of stay. And when I left, we had like a support plan, but whilst I was in the house, I found out that lots of other people had care coordinators who sounded very useful because they got them out and doing things and helped them live, basically. But I didn't know that was a thing that existed, so I felt really bad that I didn't have one because the crisis team kind of just discharged me. And basically everyone said like, oh, you're gonna get help when you go and see the autism team, but that didn't happen. So yeah, at the moment I'm having quite a tough time because I'm kind of just in the dark about what's going on in my head. But I have support that's lined up. It's just waiting lists. So yeah, they've referred me to like kind of an art mental health course thing. It's not really art therapy, I don't think, but it's like art well-being. So that sounds really good. And also, I've been referred to Rethink, who can provide a bit more support than the recovery team would be able to. So that'll be good when I get there. But at the moment, no one wants to help me, so that's fun. Anyway, that's my video about crisis houses. If you want to know anything else, like specifics, then just let me know and I will make another video about them. I didn't want to go into too much detail because I didn't want it to be too triggering and I didn't want to put people off from crisis houses because they are really good and I wish I was still in one, to be honest. But hey ho, that's the way the world works. So yeah, let me know if you want to hear more. Bye.